Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up today. We are excited to have you here. We are here for our first inaugural weekly Position for Profit Masterclass. It has been a journey getting to this point for all of us. We are at the beginning of a new year. And probably the most exciting thing about starting a new year is that we get to have a good old fashioned reset. And who doesn't like a good reset? I think that, having the opportunity to restart again is a luxury and a blessing that goes underappreciated most times. I feel like the luckiest person on the planet sometimes because I get to make as many mistakes as I want to make. And I've felt that way my whole journey. And the blessing is that I get to go to bed and wake up the next day and try again and break some more dishes and glasses and bump my head and black my eye and wake up the next day and try it again. One of my mentors from many, many years ago, he said, your only job is to wake up every day and come in with a fresh perspective, no matter what you go through. That's your job. Because if you don't come in with a fresh perspective, you're going to be moving with so much weight you can't move. And so the I've never forgot those words. And waking up every day with a fresh perspective and ready to slay some new dragons is a luxury and a blessing. And I'm happy to have you guys here with me. We are diving into the art of positioning, public relations, PR, media relations, communication strategy is very much so an exercise in positioning, right? So a lot of people have no idea what PR means. They think of events, they think of red carpets, they think of celebrities, they think of some weird high strung publicist with a clipboard in her hand or somebody who's really nasty and pushing people along down the red carpet. But public relations is definitely an art. And if you've ever invested in it, you know how expensive it can be. It's expensive because it is an art, right? The art of reaching out and having the right timing and following up and being on point in order to earn your unequal fair share of media coverage. They only have a few minutes to give every single person, and why would they choose you? That's really the question you need to answer. Why would they fill this 5 minute spot on a TV morning show with you and your story? Why would they take this small piece of real estate that they have in this newspaper, in this magazine, in this booklet? Why would they take the real estate and give it to you? That is the question and what you have to answer, and why communications is an art. And after all of these years of working in the world of branding, marketing, PR, communication strategy, I have served the overserved and done it for the biggest brands, which I'll talk about more as this masterclass goes on. But now my main focus is serving the underserved. And by that, I mean the global entrepreneurial community. Those people who are working every day, changing lives, making impact, having big impact in their communities, who are job creators, who are low key therapists, especially if you have a brick and mortar where you have a coffee shop, a sandwich shop, a corner store, you have some kind of real estate, a community center in your community. You know personally what's going on with every single person who comes through those doors. You know whose kids are troubled, you know who is creeping with somebody who they're not exactly married to, who's having a drink with someone all too often that their wife doesn't know about or their husband doesn't know about. You know about who got fired, who is having a hard time finding work. You know all about all of these things because you're an entrepreneur, because you are a rainmaker in your own community. And the thing is, entrepreneurs don't have a large expendable slush fund for non essentials. And although I believe communications is essential, when you're worried about keeping the lights on, keeping the staff paid, and actually spending time delivering on the promises that you make to your customers, I can see how it cannot be prioritized. And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs have something remarkable, do something remarkable, create remarkable results for a lot of people, but nobody knows about them. And so they're paying the high tax of invisibility tax. And that's the reason why I created the Position for Profit Masterclass. So we can move forward and get started now. Um, so let's start from the beginning. So, entrepreneurs across the world, let's talk about who we are, right? We are risk takers and rainmakers, and I feel your pain when it comes to visibility, invisibility, amplifying your profile locally or nationally. So I've wasted plenty of money on consultants with very little ROI. I know entrepreneurs, this is probably the most common experience because you have no idea how it works because you're an expert in your own field and you're trusting other people. So you will waste the money trusting someone with big promises and they don't deliver. And then that makes you, like anyone else, not want to spend that money ever again. Understood. Being hidden as a best kept secret despite having remarkable work. So I always ask people, are you a proud card carrying member of the Best Kept Secret Society? Or would you like to break out of that and stop paying that invisibility tax? If you want to keep your card, no problem. But if there's something that you want to do about it, definitely I'm here to help. And you're struggling to catapult your business to 6 or 7 figures because let's be honest, entrepreneurs did not start their business to break even, right? We're all in here trying to position ourselves for profit, for scaling, for surpassing our wildest dreams. And when you get stuck delivering at a certain level, because that's as much as you can do on your own without adding more people to the team, it starts to get a little frustrating and starts to affect how you feel about your business. And in some cases, some people fall way out of love with their business. And the Position for Profit Masterclass is specifically created to address that. And finally, no traction with positioning yourself as an authority in your industry because let's be honest, like what is more frustrating than watching your less experienced, lower um lower integrity having competitor get the shine, the spotlight, the podcast seats, and the things that you know that you have earned, right? Earned the right to speak as an expert, earned the right to speak on experience. So let's talk about it. Next, in the next 90 minutes, what are we going to talk about? I'm going to teach you about the 5 core principles of positioning yourself for profit, right? Number one, I know you're like rolling your eyes right now, right? Because in the coach universe, the most overused and abused word is mindset. And I am going to use the word mindset, but I do want you to think about it in a different way, right? Because shifting your mindset is not just about affirmations, speaking positivity, and just having an optimistic perspective. It really isn't just about those things. Those are important, but mindset also centers around you being radically forgiving to yourself because the person who you think you're fighting with in the office, the competing business that you think that you're in a race with for customers, those are not the battles that you're actually in. The battle you're actually in is all in your mind, right? If you can win that battle, then you're beating all the other people that you think you're battling with. You're winning every other battle because you have won the battle in your mind. In order to win the battle in your mind, it is an exercise of letting go, of shedding things that are weighing you down, of letting go of fear, anxiety, doubts, limiting beliefs, regrets, wishing you had done or said something differently from how you said it. All of that has to go in order for your mindset to be beneficial to you and to help you align with your true assignment. Number two is becoming a research pro, right? Because research, when as soon as you say research, especially in this day and age where not a lot of time is spent on anything, people think to themselves, tedious, alert, not trying to do that. Research, nope, that's what I have Chat GPT for. Don't want to do it. And actually, Chat GPT can be your partner and your ride or die on this research mission because the purpose of the research is to discover your people, where your story fits and how to share it, right? So you only want to make sure that you're not just pursuing the media outlets that you've heard of, because there are millions of media outlets, but they're in this day and age where we live in um a community built on topics type of culture. Like, I know we all heard when Gary Vee said it shouldn't be called social media anymore. It should be called interest media. It should be called interest media because the world has changed, and the way that social media algorithms have changed is a reflection of that. People center around one topic and build a community around that, and that is why it's important for you to do research, because you may have grew up dreaming of being covered in Essence magazine or New York Times or one of the bigger publications, but that's not exactly where your people are. You want to go to where your people are, because once you find your people, they find you. Number three is defining your remarkable factor and showcasing your unique edge and competitive advantage. So, a lot of business owners think that they're an expert in this category right here. And what their biggest mistake is that you eat, sleep, and breathe your remarkable factor, right? Like exactly what makes you amazing. But you have probably 30 seconds or less to communicate that to someone else. But because you eat, sleep, and breathe it, you can't say it in less than 5 or 6 minutes. And so you've lost them. And so that's what we work on right here, is defining the remarkable factor, extracting the core message in it, and repeating it over and over again until we have fun saying it. Number four is creating a pitch that sells, right? Because getting media attention that counts elevates your visibility, but the only way you're going to get it is to break through the noise of a person who has an inbox overflowing, who has a million people standing at her door, who has thousands of entrepreneurs who want that same piece of real estate that she's in charge of. And you have to figure out how to break through and get to her, get your message to her so that she chooses you for the story. And finally, mastering follow up without being annoying. And it's just that simple. Follow up can make a person your enemy, or it can make a person your biggest fan. So we just have to make sure that we turn opportunities into results and massive profits. And that's what positioning for profit is all about. So let's go into what's holding us back, right? So let's talk about what we're suffering from as entrepreneurs. Lack of media exposure. I'm struggling to get my message in front of a wider audience despite my expertise. Like, who can't say that, right? Because you're building your business every day. But there are some people who forget the business. Their full-time job is just getting the media exposure. And they're very skilled and talented at it. And there's no hate there. But you have a business. Yours is built on your remarkable factor. Yours is built on service to your customers and your consumers and their experience. And so you're missing out on the visibility because you are serving your community. And how can we do two things at one time? Content overwhelm. I'm unsure of how to craft messaging for media pitches. I'm not a publicist. I don't know about communication. I do what I do. I have the best, um, vegan soul food in Atlanta. I have the best form fitting business attire for busy female entrepreneurs. I have the best whatever. But crafting the message is not my thing. Totally common and completely solvable. Time constraints. I'm balancing running a successful business and wearing all the hats while trying to handle PR and marketing on my own. Welcome to the club. That's entrepreneurship. Because if we had the ability to have a person do every little thing we needed, we wouldn't even need to be here right now. The profit and scaling would be through the freaking roof. Discovering my audience. I don't know who or where my people are, and how to reach them. I opened up this shop and I'm waiting for my customers. Common story. So let's talk about exactly what the experiences are that we need to move through. Pam, can we go to the next page? Is this you and does this sound familiar? I just don't know if I'm good enough. I haven't had formal corporate training. Every single person I know asks this question, especially when they're asking the media to cover them. I don't know. Is my story good enough? Am I worthy of media? You have to believe it, but just know that you are worthy. You are a remarkable entrepreneur. That means worthy of remark because of the difference that you make and making big impact in your corner of the universe. My clients say that designs are amazing, but no one ever sees my work, right? And so my designs can be an interior decorating project. It could be a creative director project where you're literally creating artwork, and art designs. It could be designing events. It could be designing experiences for children, for schools, for adults, for seniors, whatever it is that you design. You're getting feedback that it's totally amazing, but no one ever knows about it. So you're only as good as your last hit. I've lost $5,000 paying for a publicist and they didn't get me anything. If I had a dollar for every single time I heard this statement, forget about it. Okay. This is on a daily basis what we're all hearing. I don't know how to do PR. I'm not a publicist. Exactly. And that's the reason why publicists and PR agencies make ten to $15,000 a month because of the art of communication, and that it is not something that that comes easily to people based on what they do for a living. So, what are we going to do about these limiting beliefs that you have been carrying around? We are going um, to the four categories of disempowering beliefs, right? First, we have to name it. So, here's the thing. I am a person, I'm being giving full disclosure, being totally honest. I have been hospitalized for anxiety attacks since I was 24 years old. I did not fully understand it in the beginning. I didn't know what being alpha meant or being type A or being, obsessed. But whenever I've always been a very ambitious and driven person ever since I was a kid, because my dad he was a drill sergeant about school. And when he passed away when I was 16, I carried that mantle and I was like, these are the things I want to do, and I'm going to stay laser focused to do them. And that can be good in one way and bad in another. By the time I'm 24, I've accomplished a lot of the things that I want. I'm in the music business. I'm working at Def Jam. I'm in the dream job. I am working in the marketing department. I am managing album releases, number one album releases. And I remember my very first anxiety attack. At least when I knew I needed to go to the hospital, was at the Too Fast, Too Furious premiere in New York City. And I sat in my seat and I couldn't sit still. And there was like this vibration in my chest that was weird. So I'm steadily saying, I just need to drink something. I'm drinking Diet Coke. And I mean, one after the other, thinking that it's going to help when it's actually agitating the anxiety because of the caffeine. By the time I realize like I cannot sit through this, I take a literal car service, not because that's way before Uber. I take a car service all the way to Long Island to my mom's house. I walk in the door and I'm like, call an ambulance. And her and my grandmother like, what do you mean? And so I sit down and I am gasping for air. Literally. Now my mom starts crying. She's calling 911. My grandmother's looking at me. She's shaking her head. She's like, what is going on, Shante? That's what she always called me, Shante. And when the ambulance came, they put the blood pressure cuff on me and took my pulse. And they were like, ma'am, are you on e-pills? Ecstasy, I think she said. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? She was like, look at this blood pressure. She's like 116 over 71. She said, I wish, she was like, this is the blood pressure of a teenager. I wish everybody would come in here like this. And I was like, no, I'm gasping for air. And she's like, she thinks it's drug induced. And so we go to the emergency room and all of that. And the doctor walks in and says, what kind of job could a 24-year-old have that would have her in my emergency room with a severe anxiety attack? And I was like, anxiety? And that is how I knew I suffered from anxiety, because I'm 24 years old and they're looking at me like I am high as a kite. And I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? I can't breathe. And he's like, what do you do for a living? And so when I told him what my day was like, he was like, you got to make some changes. So I'm telling you, I know about anxiety. Comparing. In the world that we live in today, specifically a social media driven world, comparing is at an all-time high. People are more depressed, frustrated, despondent, discouraged, and feeling bad about themselves because of comparing. I don't think it is, sometimes it's not even conscious. Sometimes it is a choice, right? But not one, no one says, hey, I'm going to compare because I want to feel terrible about myself, right? You might be ambitious, you might be driven, there might be things that you want for yourself. But when everything looks like a beautiful storefront and you know the reality of the chaos and the challenges that you're living, and you don't see that from anyone else, you start to compare, and you are basing your reality on someone else's storefront, what they want you to see. And so that is also one of the most disempowering things we can do as entrepreneurs. Why is her business thriving and mine isn't? I mean, I don't have the words for how common that is amongst entrepreneurs. And it can also, that is like a turbocharged catalyst to make you fall out of love with your business because you think something's wrong with your business only and no one else's. So we're going to address that. No plan. Okay. If you don't have a plan, I mean, we all know the thing. If you don't plan, you plan to fail, right? So, what is the plan as an entrepreneur for satisfying your customers at the remarkable levels you're known for, while also positioning your business for profit? Because if we just get stuck satisfying our customers, we are what I call positioned for pain. We're serving everyone else and not ourselves as an entrepreneur. And that is not fun at all. And also can be worse than a job. A lot of people quit their job because they think they're going to have this great and amazing entrepreneurial experience until they realize that every single cent that they make is dependent upon a serious grind for an insatiable customer that, it requires a lot to be happy. So we're going to talk about that. And then destination obsession. So one thing that you will learn as you grow through your business is that being so focused on, I'm going to be happy when I have $1 million business. I'm going to be happy when I have $1 billion business. I'll be happy when I land a celebrity as a client. I'll be happy when I sell $100,000. I'll be happy when I make $1 million. If you're so focused on the destination, I promise you the journey will be torturous, right? The destination obsession is another one of the most self-defeating things you could be doing. And especially when it comes to positioning a business for profit, because everyone who is working at the business is feeding off of your energy and they're not happy with anything because it hasn't hit the big milestone, the big goal. You have to celebrate the small wins on the way to the destination. So let's talk about, if you've ever had any of these doubts, frustrations, any of this pain, right? It feels like pain when you're in it. You're so not alone. I have 19 years on record in communication strategy, marketing, branding, and 21 years in entrepreneurship to help you strip away the barriers and the hurdles that are preventing you from building the business you want to build. No matter what your scenario is, I probably have experienced something like it and have some type of experience that I can share with you about how to get out of it. So, what do we dream of as entrepreneurs, right? This word scaling, everybody's talking about scaling, shift to scale, and so to scale, and scaling.com, and scaling this and that, right? Everybody's talking about scaling. And most entrepreneurs, if they're being honest with themselves, don't even know what scaling means. Scaling a business does not mean just growing your profit margin, right? It does include growth, but scaling a business means the entire makeup of the company changes because it can no longer operate as a small business. Scaling means a scaling mindset. It means a scaled team. It means scaling the operations and the process and the way that you deliver what you deliver. It means a whole new business, right? Not operating the same way you operate now, but making a little bit more money. That's what scaling is, right? And scaling to seven figures, it's not just a profit thing. It is more about, well, in order for you to scale to six or seven figures, who do you need to become? Who does your team need to be? How are they going to deliver $1 million worth of your service in the way that they think now? It's not possible, right? So scaling is also has everything to do with shedding, letting go, mindset, being open to transformation, achieving greater visibility and media recognition to position yourself as a thought leader, right? So everyone wants their mama I made it moment. I made it to Essence Magazine. Oh my God. I'm in New York Times. Oh my God. I'm in the local newspaper in Charlotte, North Carolina. Look, mama, I made it. And your name, your company is in lights, is on the morning show. It's in a newspaper. You're getting interviewed. You're on the radio. Everyone wants that moment, right? And so, as an entrepreneur, totally okay for you to dream about that moment and to not know how to get there. And that's why we exist. Mastering how to effectively communicate the value of your business offers in media interviews that attract your ideal clients, right? So, the purpose of these media interviews and this spotlight and this mama I made it moment is to make yourself more findable. It is not to feed your ego. It is not to make you feel special. You can feel special, that's fine. But if you're a real entrepreneur, the purpose and the goal of all of this increased visibility is to make that business more findable so that you can scale, because you're going to need more traffic and to be more findable to more people, and you're going to need to literally become an expert at finding your people so that they can find you. And that's the purpose of the coverage. And finally, building $1 million business that allows you to grow your business of big profits, experiences, vacations, so you can live life on your own terms, right? Because a business that feels like prison and you can't step away for a day, and you're so intricately tied into the operations of that business, that feels like prison after a while. It will feed your ego in one way, like you have to be the savior, you have to fix everyone's problems. You take a day off and they need you to come running back to fix it. That a lot of people enjoy how that feels, right? You feel like you're so smart, and you're the savior and you're an expert and nobody's better at this than me, until you dead serious want to take a vacation and just can't, because the whole thing would come crashing down. And that is when you realize that you've built a prison right around yourself and you can't escape it. And so, the purpose of scaling visibility, these communication hits, is so that you can build a business you love that has the opportunity for legacy and multi generational growth, but also the opportunity to grant you some freedoms that you would not enjoy if you had a regular job. So, who am I with all this talking? I'm Shante Bacon. I am a communication strategy expert and brand builder who has built a multi-million-dollar firm over the last 21 years with brands like Apple TV, Disney, Google, YouTube, Paramount Pictures, Warner Brothers, NBC, Peacock, Netflix, Oprah Winfrey Network, and more. I have launched countless campaigns over the years for some of the biggest films and television shows and brands that you have heard of. Press. I always tell people, don't take my word for it. Google me, please. You will see that I've been covered multiple times in Vibe, in Essence, in Advertising Age, Marie Claire. I definitely make it a priority that I will not talk about things that I have not done. And I have been on the 30 under 30, on the women to watch lists, on the uh, marketing innovators and the what is that? It's innovators and something icons, innovators and icons list. I've been on those. And so I would say that I'm not going to go through my resume here, but what I am going to tell you is do a Google search and be thorough. And you will see the kinds of campaigns that I've worked on, the awards that I've won, and the coverage that I have secured. On top of the fact that my roster, my client roster is, I've forgotten more clients than I can list to you right now. And how did I get here? I made the leap from a well-paid gig in the music business because I am from Jamaica, Queens. So hip hop is my story. Jamaica, Queens, that had all of these amazing entrepreneurs in hip hop was what I grew up looking up to. All of these movers and shakers in this big world that came from my neighborhood. And I was like, oh, I want to do that too. Um, I, I went to Hampton University and put my sights on the music business and networked and recruited mentors to my side that helped me to get focused and break my way into the music business, but also break my way into the company that I dreamed about, which was Def Jam. About 8 months into a 30-year mortgage when I was 26 years old, I get the bright idea that now is my moment to be an entrepreneur. By that point, I had been at Def Jam for 8 years. I had been the product manager for Kanye's debut album, um, College Dropout, for Ludacris's Chicken and Beer, for Method Man's album. I had worked probably 15 artists that year and had learned so much from my mentors in the music business. Leora Cohen, Julie Greenwald, and Kevin Liles always deserve mention. Suzanne Burge as well. Um, I had become the dream job does become a beautiful nightmare when it's not in alignment with your assignment. And I felt like not. I just felt at an unease. I went and had a lunch with my mentor. And I told her, I said, I don't know. I'm having this thing. It's like a Sunday night anxiety, like 7 o'clock on Sunday night. My stomach is tied up in knots. I don't know what to do about it. I don't want to make a mistake. And she looked at me and she said, Bacon, this opportunity has run its course. You're not going to retire there. Move on. Find something that feeds your soul. And just like that, she was so blunt about it. Bacon, this has run its course. And those words repeated in my head endlessly for probably like a month. And I was like, she's right. I am no longer happy here. This has become a beautiful nightmare, complete with the gut churning Sunday night anxiety. So I literally quit out of nowhere. Went to Miami for a couple weeks, came back to New York and was like, I've been wanting to start this business. This is what I'm going to do. Called up my friend Saptosa Foster, who I had interned with many years before at EMI, and was like, what are you doing? She's like, I just quit my job at Vibe. She said, what are you doing? I said, I just quit my job at Def Jam. What do you think? And I said, I'm coming to Atlanta for the Moby conference. Went down there, and that was the birth of 135 Agency. So worked on more projects than I can even remember, but the milestones that I will share is that pivoting is key to any entrepreneurial journey, especially service-based businesses. So for the first 5 years, we worked music projects, and we looked at each other like, okay, yeah, no, we have to start working for money and not stardust, because the stardust and the pixie dust falling off of your promises is not paying my mortgage. So we decided to make a serious pivot into film and television. And we got our big break working on a completely free project with the Step Up 3D movie. And I will not lie to you, I was drug into it kicking and screaming, kicking and screaming. I was like, we don't work for free. We've been in business for 5 years. What are we doing? And we did such a good job that the person on the project could not, she was literally giddy to run to all the studios and talk about 135 agency. And so that was like the first domino to fall. And then all of a sudden, overnight, we're working all of these films and television shows and getting television networks as agency of record clients, which means you work with companies year over year through a long annual contract. And the more of those we rack up, the more we can build our business, the more we can hire more people, the more we inch closer and closer to $1 million business. And so 2016, we got our opportunity with Google issuing an RFP that year. And we competed against four other agencies and won the business. And that was the year we became $1 million business. And then 2018, we got our chance to pivot into the world of politics and digital advertising and worked on campaigns for the 2018 midterms. And finally, continuing to grow the business um, and consistently securing revenue close to $2 million and a little bit over in recent years. And so wanted you to just know what my resume is. How do I have the credibility to be sitting here teaching you anything? Because that's important. And now, how a self led PR campaign has changed my life. The first thing we did after we got our first three clients, US Postal Service, Coca Cola Summer Scope, and the third one I can't even remember right now, was to issue our own PR campaign for our business. Why? Because we needed to find our people so our people could find us, right? So, launching that PR campaign that many years ago put us on a good stride so that for every milestone we had, there was media coverage coming to us because they could Google and see the stuff that we had done. And coaching business owners from various industries on how to save money by launching their own PR lifestyle strategy is my new passion, right? Running my thriving seven-figure communication strategy and experiential firm and helping clients to secure earned media has been my life's work. Speaking, writing, and teaching about self-driven public relations for entrepreneurs. And I would say that even beyond public relations, you're going to hear me use the word positioning constantly because at a certain point, in order to fall back in love with your business, it is an exercise in positioning much more than it is an exercise in just PR. I have $1 million brownstone condo in Manhattan, in Upper Manhattan in Harlem, which I always tell people is the best place on earth. Also, a beach home on Paradise Island. I'm married to a Bahamian. And traveling with my family and loving on my booski. And that is a photo of my booski right there. He is the love of my life and the yummiest person I have ever met, ever. So let's talk about you. Are you the proud card carrying member of the Best Kept Secret Society? Or do you want to stop paying that invisibility tax? I cannot answer for you. You must answer that for yourself. But drop in the chat if you are ready to break out of the card carrying member of the Best Kept Secret Society, because it's time. That's the number one thing we need to be shedding in 2026 is letting that best kept secret status go. Are you tired of wasting money and time on expensive freelancers and consultants and not getting results? Again, add this to our list of things to leave behind in 2025 and move forward without that. Happy to leave this toxic trait behind. Do you know your business will benefit from proper positioning? Because if you don't know that for sure, I'm here to tell you that by the end of this masterclass, you will. Do you know in your heart that you have or do something remarkable? This question is probably the most important question in the whole class because no one can answer this for yourself. You have to answer this. And drop in the chat if you know you're remarkable. Drop a one in the chat if you know you're remarkable. Here's the thing: if you don't know you're remarkable, then it is not time for you to be seeking visibility, PR, earned media coverage, or anything else. You have to know your business is remarkable. If you don't know your business is remarkable, then you have to do a few things, a few more things before you start seeking press, like making sure you're confident in the impact that you provide to your clients and your customers, and that you deserve to be remarked on. You must be worthy of remark to be a remarkable entrepreneur. So let's talk about these 5 principles. Mindset mapping. The reason why I called it mapping is because all roads lead to somewhere, right? Every thought that you have, every word that you speak, it's all interconnected, but also leads to different places. The wrong words, the wrong thoughts, the wrong positioning will lead you down a path of pain. So the purpose is to alleviate baggage and prepare yourself mentally for the highs and lows of PR pitching. The core principle is mindset is everything. Prepare for the marathon, not the sprint. So, what are the key things that we need to do to align our mindset with a person who is embarking on a transformation and about to scale their business by positioning for profit? The first thing is, again, shedding, letting go, clearing the clutter, right? I cannot stress enough how much you should look at the start of a new year as an opportunity to let go of a hell of a lot more than you pick up. Just that simple. Let go of all the anxiety, the fears, the doubts, the limiting beliefs, all those little voices in your head that say, "Oh, well, they said I was annoying. They said I wasn't smart enough. They said that my speech isn't clear. They said I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too dark, I'm too light." Whatever it is that they said, leave they, them, and their all in the past, in the rearview mirror. Push it out, as me and my son talk about. Yep, get that out of your head. Just put it right out, because carrying that, it's too heavy and nobody has time. So we want to get or clear the clutter, get all of that he said, she said, whatever they said, even though they don't walk a mile in your shoes, whatever they said, they were wrong. Push it out. You know when you have improvements that need to be made and things you need to work on, but carrying what everyone said, can't do it. Moments that you lived through that caused you shame because you made a mistake, because you misspoke, because you said something loud and other people heard it, because you didn't respond when somebody humiliated you, because you didn't handle something the way you wanted to, because you dropped the ball. Whatever it is, what the one thing we do know is that you cannot go back in time and fix it. So all you can do is be radically forgiving of yourself and let it go, and just extract the lesson and keep moving forward, because what else can you do? Carrying it right now is not working for you. You're busy. You got a business to run. You have jobs to create. You have people that need to be paid. You have um, lives to impact. Embracing the no, right? Understanding that rejections are part of the process. So I'm going to go biblical for a second here, because I needed it personally when I was trying to reposition no and rejection. I have always felt like I have endured more rejection than the average person, right? But I also realized that I probably take more shots than the average person, right? I'm happy to run into a loud, screaming, flaming no. I always have been. And just feel like I'm gonna just wear you out with no so many times that ultimately it will be a yes. So I had to learn from time that in almost every case, rejection is divine redirection. When you look back at some of the things that rejected you, and you thank your lucky stars that you did not get what you asked for, because it would have been devastating, it would have been traumatizing, it would have been soul breaking. Those are the things that should reassure you that rejection is in almost every case, not every case, but in almost every case, a divine redirection. Because the truth is that as long as you are focused on things that are out of alignment with your purpose and your mission, you are going to have to keep starting over and have to seek new transformations and have to endure much more rejections because you're not in alignment, right? And alignment with your assignment is the ultimate mission. And especially for an entrepreneur who has less time and who has more lives riding on their every action. That's the truth of it. You know, to whom much is given, much is required, right? You are an entrepreneur, you're a leader by choice. A lot of people want to wear the title leader, but they have absolutely no idea what that means. There's a huge cost to be the boss. And if you want to know that, and just talk to any leader about all the times they had to take responsibility for someone else's mistake because they're the leader, or all the times they had to make sure everyone else was good and may put themselves last. Understand that it's not as glorious as you think, but it is fulfilling as hell, and it is a calling. That leadership is a calling, and understanding that it comes with a shit ton of rejection, and that is okay because it saved you months, years of wasted time going in a path that wasn't meant for you. And I mean that, like, I mean, you have to live with that right there. That's a big part of the mindset recalibration. Visualizing success, because a lot of us have so much pain and trauma, doubts, and limiting beliefs tucked in every nook and cranny of our head that we can't dream. There's no space. You can't see the end goal, the vision where you want to be because you're too busy dealing with yesterday's trauma and yesterday's mistakes. You've got to make space for dreaming. And I mean proactive, intentional dreaming. This is a place where you can definitely use Chat GPT. I personally, I like to talk to my agent and just literally give a brain dump of the dream, what I'm wearing, where I'm living, where I'm working, what the view is, what's in my eyesight. What does the dream look like? And ask ChatGPT to create the image for you of you in your movie, and use that, keep that, put it on your desk, put it on your vision board. But you have to make sure that you see that too, not just the pain, the mistakes, the trauma, the to do list, the exhaustion. We've got to make sure that that's a key part of it. Pro tip: every no gets you closer to a yes. Um, think of your favorite celebrity, and I only use Taraji because she's publicly spoken about this, but everybody who you admire, from who is living life on a big scale, right? A celebrity, artist, a politician, whoever, a motivational speaker, they have endured pain, rejection, things that you could not imagine because you don't know what their life entailed. You just see the end result. But every no gets you one step closer to a yes. And that could be 10,000 no's, could be 20,000 no's, could be 50 no's before you get to a yes that will be life changing. And that cycle will repeat endlessly. It's not like you go through all of these no's and then you finally start getting all these yeses. Mm-mm. Because once you get the yes that changes your life and you level up, then an entrepreneur is going to be like, what's the next level? And trying to get to that next level has its own set of no's, and you're ready for it. That's what you do every day. You eat no's for breakfast, right? I know what you do. Think about Ava DuVernay, right? She faced repeated setbacks in her early career, and she flipped the script by embracing rejection and turning it into fuel for her success. And Ava, if you didn't know it, started off in PR as a publicist. And Hollywood, for the most part, didn't even see her as a film director. She got an opportunity to make a film because it was her passion, and she put her foot in it and got the attention of Oprah Winfrey. And the rest is history. It happens that people will say, "Oh, you're not a filmmaker, you're a publicist. Oh, you don't do that. That's not what we come to you for. You do this." And you do not allow anyone to define the box that you're in ever. So here's a case study. That right there, that's Lisa Price. She is the creator of Carol's Daughter. They are a former client of 135 Agency. So Carol's Daughter, I found out about back in 1999 when it was little tiny vials of oil. Used the oils, loved it, and had no idea that it was this woman out in Brooklyn who does this company. Then she gets acquired one day by L'Oreal. And media wise, she thought she was walking into a glorious day with all of this praise, but her customer base had who had been loyal while she was selling it in the back of a shop in Brooklyn was worried. They were like, "Oh my god, please don't go corporate. Like we like our products the way that they are." And as it goes, social media creates a wave of negativity when it gets ready. And so Lisa was now facing a crisis, a communications crisis, where all of these people were talking about how it was selling out, it was going to water down the brand. And just like that, a moment that you should be able to celebrate is something that you have to now do crisis around. And the truth is, all her customer base wanted was to know that she was still there for them, that they were still her priority, that she was not going to change it up on them. And the campaign was just that simple. You are appreciated. That's the campaign that we launched for Carol's Daughter. And you can find it on my 135 agency website. But I use this as an example just to show you that mindset in the way that you receive negative feedback and negative words or crisis communications, people who are trying to define your next move for you, how you handle that has everything to do with mindset and perspective and putting it in play, right? And then you almost always come out on the other side as a better entrepreneur, a better communicator, in a better position to impact more lives and help people. And as just a byproduct, a role model for those people who watched you handle it. And they're like, "Oh, I need to do that next time." So, questions. What are your biggest mental blocks when it comes to pitching? How can you reframe a no to keep moving forward? Like, what do you want to do with that? All right, so let's go to section 2. So, identifying the target media. This is where that little part about research comes in. So, again, not a huge research project, but just a project to make sure that what you want is in alignment with the media outlets that you're targeting, right? So, choosing the right media outlets for your particular story will stop you from losing a lot of time because a lot of people pitch media outlets pitching the wrong person at a media outlet or pitching the wrong media outlet for the type of business that they have because they're going for the top big media outlet that they've heard of when there's a media outlet that specializes in exactly what they do. Core principle: not all media is created equal. You must strategize and spend your time in strategic places where you want to be seen. And so, what is earned media? So, earned media, let me see what's the right way to define it. There are different types of media. There's advertising, which is paid media. There is owned media, which is the channels you control, like your YouTube channel, like your social media. You own those, you program what you want in those. And earned media is you crafting the best, most influential pitch that you can possibly craft to earn that 5 second time block on the morning show, to earn that 2 inch by 2 inch square in Essence Magazine, to earn a mention in the column of the news writer in your local town. You have to earn that placement. It's much more affordable than paid media, and in some ways can be more effective because the validation and authority that comes with earned media is completely unparalleled. Social media and paid media cannot compete with that because this person had to look at your pitch, look at your business, look at the value that you bring, and say, yep, that person deserves this real estate in our media publication, and it automatically reads to the consumer, the reader, whoever is consuming the information. It automatically reads as validated, authority. This person knows what they're doing. They wouldn't be covered if they didn't. That's what earned media is. So, key points about knowing your audience. If you don't know your audience, you will not know what they're reading or watching or consuming. You have to know your audience. Now, you hear the words ideal avatar a lot, and that's a fancy way of saying who is the main person who is not only your customer, but a repeat customer for life, right? Whose needs are you serving the best? That is key to you deciding what media outlets you're going to pitch. You have to define who you're trying to reach. Is it a mom? Is it a caretaker? Is it an entrepreneur? Is it a business person? Is it someone in the arts community? Is it someone in education? What world do they live in? Because every world has its own curated sources of media. Are you targeting essence readers, which is a very broad, wide array of readers, or variety, which is specifically a film and television audience? Where do you want to put your energy? You have to decide. This needs time and energy. And if you've been in business for any certain amount of time, you know your audience, but probably haven't defined them on paper. That's important too. You need a profile of your audience. Again, this is where Chat GPT can come in. Describe your best customer, the person who's been buying from you for years. Tell Chat GPT to make 3 versions of this person. That's your audience. Where are they? Where do they live? What do they read? Are they inner city folks? Are they rural folks? Are they down south folks? Are they part of a global community? Um, who is the authority? Who do they look up to? What are the influencers that they want to be like? Why do they read these particular publications? And are there any other publications or ways to meet them where they are? Also, local versus national. So, a lot of people want to shoot straight for the national. But if I have the best vegan soul food in Jacksonville, Florida, a big national piece of coverage is not going to impact my bottom line, like being covered on the front page of the Jacksonville Gazette or whatever the newspaper's called, right? Making sure that your local publications, you have lit them all up like they should know you by name. If possible, connect with editors on social media. That's where you get a chance to learn like what this media person is looking for, because once they know you know what they're looking for, then they'll start to hit you up frequently themselves, and you won't constantly be chasing. But you have to decide what's better for your business where it is right now. And there's nothing wrong with, having goals and dreams and being pie in the sky and being like, I want to be featured in New York Times one day in the food and arts section, or I want to be featured in Essence Magazine in their entrepreneur spotlight. Nothing wrong with that. But when you slay the small local dragons first, you take that media coverage, each piece of media coverage helps you get the next one. That's a fact. Write that down. Don't forget that. Every single time you're featured somewhere, it helps you get the next one. You have to start with the local folks. Make sure they know who you are. Make sure they know why you're special. Make sure they know your value to the community, and take that piece and move forward to the next. Leveraging distribution, aligning your media targets with your distribution strategy. Now, this part is key in the research because there's a long list of companies that have overshot their capabilities, right? So they had good traction. They had some celebrity friends that talked about it, posted about their business. The most notorious is a brand that went on The View and got an amazing. The founder was a person who knows how to do media coverage and was like, "Oh, I'm shooting big. I'm going for the top of the top." He knew he could get it, got the media coverage, could not supply the orders, went out of business. You do not want coverage that goes beyond your capabilities for distribution. If you don't have enough supply, don't have the distribution channels to get something out. When someone goes looking for your brand and can't find it, now they have a sour taste in their mouth, and you now have to convert them back to a person with a positive view of your business, which costs 100 times more hours, time, and headache than a person who's discovering you for the first time. Okay. So don't ever shoot for a media outlet when you know that if their readers read about you and they are fired up, excited, the orders start coming in, you can't even satisfy them if it came in. Not a good idea. So that's where research comes in. And pro tip here, customize your media list that you create for yourself, and you do not need a publicist to do this for you. Chat GPT is an excellent assistant. Just create a PR assistant GPT, and you can do this for yourself. Customize your media list based on where your target audience consumes their content. Remember, Issa Rae didn't hit it big by trying to be on every outlet. She was on one outlet with her videos. And she got discovered by being in that one place consistently. When launching Queen and Slim, Lena Waithe targeted outlets like The Root and BT before moving to mainstream publications because you want to serve your audience first, right? And go to where they are, low hanging fruit first, almost always. Okay. Here's another case study for you guys. Oprah Winfrey Network. So we were their agency of record for 13 years. Completely unheard of in agency land that a small agency like ours, a small Black woman owned agency, would be chosen by a large network for more than a decade. We started when the network was literally 10 months old, and they were still finding their footing when they realized that the Oprah Winfrey show on ABC, that audience wasn't going to automatically migrate to Oprah Winfrey Network. It became a discovery journey. And then when OWN signed with Discovery, that's when our time with them came to an end because it was part of a bigger Warner Brothers sale. But the challenge was to drive tune in and awareness for existing OWN programming. And what we needed to do when this network was 10 months old was find their people, because once they found their people found them. And so in the beginning, they were trying programs, canceling them, wipe the whole slate one day. And if you don't believe anything I'm saying, please go to Google. It will tell you. But while Oprah Winfrey Network was finding its footing and trying to figure out who their people were, we were trying on the PR side to make sure that we spoke to the community that showed the most interest, the community that was most excited, lit up, energized, and inspired by their programming. And once the Tyler Perry partnership was created, it became like super crystal clear who the audience was and where to find them. And that's what we did, was just drill deeper on developing the relationship with the community that was most interested in the content on the network. And that's just a macro example of what you would be doing with your business, finding your people. Who is my product or service for? Questions and notes. What media outlets are the best fit for your audience? And if anybody has any ideas, drop it in the chat. I'm happy to see what it is. How can you tailor your pitch for local versus national press? Next, section 3, extracting and communicating the remarkable. So, pinpoint what makes your business stand out, right? Because you live your business every day. And so you think the business is amazing, and the business is amazing, right? The problem is that you have to extract the most interesting, easy to communicate, remarkable thing about your business when you're communicating it to other people, because their eyes will glaze over if you get too deep into industry jargon and specifics that an insider would not know. It starts to sound like the moms on Charlie Brown. Want, because you're going on, and they're like, what is this person talking about? I'm ready to shoot myself. You don't want that. You want in the first 30 seconds that you have the opportunity to make it clear what you do, put the hook in them, and make them want to hang around for one more minute. And the truth is that that's not a lot of time. But this is the world we live in. If it's not remarkable, it's forgettable. And you really need to figure out a way to be on the road to wow in 1 to 2 minutes. So you got to dig deep, right? Identifying the most unique aspects of your business. What makes you different from everyone else? And I feel like a lot of cliches could come up to this question, which is why most of the time I advise entrepreneurs that if you want to know what the most unique aspects are of your business and what makes it different from everyone else, you will ask this question to your most loyal repeat customers because they will tell you why they come to you and not someone else. Is it convenience? Is it because of freshness? Is it because you always have a better assortment, a better variety, more items to choose from, because you're more on point? Is it professionalism? Is it culture? Is it environment? All of those things are affected in your business, and it influences your customers' opinion of the business. And so what are the most unique aspects and how can you say them in 30 seconds or less, right? And so it could be a situation as simple as I prefer to go to this coffee shop versus that one because of a music choice. This is the only place where I can find a soca reggaeton blend, and that's why I go to this coffee shop. It could be this person has coffee beans from Cuba, and that's why I like it, and that's why I go there. When it comes to the coffee world, it's just that serious. Where are these beans from, and how do they taste? Right? And so, depending on the business, when it's a service based business, it's almost always that they want to know that what keeps them up at night keeps you up at night as the agency. Very clear. If you can do that and prove that better, then that's probably the bulk of your secret sauce. Okay, so storytelling magic. Once you have found out from your most loyal customers what makes your companies unique and why they choose you over your competitors that might be cheaper, that might be closer to their home, why you? Then your job is to create a content bank and say it in as many different ways as possible, and chat gpt can help with this, and craft a compelling narrative around your remarkable factor. Create a story, create an icon, an illustration, figure out a way to tell that story. Tell it like you're having the time of your life telling this story. Make it short, make it impactful, humorous if you can, and have fun. Genuinely have fun repeating it. Find a way to say it that makes it fun for you, and you'll never get tired of repeating it because you will be repeating it again and again when it's time for investments, when it's time for press, when it's time for partnerships, joint ventures, any opportunity to level up, mergers and acquisitions. You will be repeating this remarkable factor again and again. Has everything to do with positioning your business and little to do with public relations. You have to do this part and be good at it. Keeping it real. Authenticity is key. You cannot oversell or overhype or overshoot what you know your business does, right? Even if you feel like, oh, because there's a lot of humiliation that's handed out in corporate America about mom and pop shops, right? But we don't buy into that ever. But if you have a small company and they mom and pop you, then they try to convince the mom and pop that you have to present your business as something bigger than it is because it's too small. I was watching Force the other day, and Shay said, I don't do bodega money, I do Amazon money. And all I could think of was there's a hell of a lot more bodegas around the world than Amazons. But I feel you, but I'm just saying, like, depending on where you are, and what community you serve, united, you can have more impact. So authenticity is key. Do not oversell or overhype, because there's a cliche about under promising and over delivering, and it sounds great as words coming out of your mouth, but if it's not in practice, Every person that you convert into a person who has a negative opinion, it takes way longer to get them back to just a position of neutrality where they're not negative or positive about your business. So before you even get them there, make promises you know you can deliver on. And it's just that simple. So you extract what's remarkable, dig very deep to find out what that is, make sure it's actually remarkable, worthy of remark. You tell it to somebody, are they going to tell it to somebody else? If they tell it to somebody else, will people find it interesting? That's worthy of remark. Okay. If you're just going through the motions and doing the same thing as every other business, that's not worthy of remark. It has to be something about the way you do it, deliver it, your secret sauce, something about the culture, the community that you've built, something that's remarkable. That is where you need to find out what that is and repeat it endlessly. Okay, so pro tip here is remembering the buzz around Black Panther. The film was marketed not just as a superhero movie, but as a cultural event. So if you're a Marvel head like me, right? By the time Black Panther came out, you were already hooked on Avengers, on Iron Man, on Hulk, on Captain America, on all of those. But when Black Panther came out, it was a cultural moment. There was something way different about the release of that film than the others. And you know what that difference was? Community, where whole families went out, entire organizations went out. People went out dressed like they were from Wakanda. People went out the whole entire weekend, making it their mission to go see Black Panther. And they walked out with doing the X with their arms. That was different. There was something different about that installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that secret sauce and that community and that feeling that people had about that particular movie had a whole lot of different factors in it. The cast, Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, Chadwick Boseman, all of that, plus just the way that Africa, the motherland, was celebrated. People don't understand that we have not seen anything like that with a technologically advanced resource that it was rich in, and it was the only place you could find it. So I'm just saying that to say the way they told that story, it made that movie different from it gave it a certain level of a remarkable factor within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Real life example. Tyler Perry revolutionized the film industry by creating a film studio in Atlanta, a market where no other studios were, on plantation land, positioning it as the largest in U.S. history. But it wasn't just about making movies, it was about changing the game. It was about honoring his ancestors. It was about owning your own narrative. And if you've ever heard him speak, you know that the number one thing he says is we have everything that we need already right here in our community. We don't need to be going outside for anything else. And the reason why that goes to the remarkable factor is because he already knew what was remarkable about us. He didn't need any studio to greenlight it. He didn't need anybody to tell him what he had was remarkable. He already knew he had something remarkable. And he knew that there was an audience for it, a community built around it. And all he had to do was make himself findable so that his people could find him. And the rest is history. And it became a small rock rolling down a mountain that became a boulder. And here we go with Tyler Perry having a huge studio in Atlanta and him mentoring 50 Cent, who now has a huge studio in New Orleans. And it goes on and on and on. But that remarkable factor, you have to own it, you have to know it, and you have to walk in it. You have to repeat it. You have to shout it from the mountaintops. And you want to make sure that it is in alignment with your assignment for sure. Okay, case study. So Moonlight. We worked this film from when no one knew what it was. It was literally Barry Jenkins, the creator, made a story that was loosely based on his life experience. We had the opportunity to go to a little small theater that had 10 seats to see it so we could create a strategy around it. From the moment I saw it, I knew that this was one of the most remarkable films I had ever seen to this day. And it is one of a very small amount of Oscar award winning films that we worked, but it was about the authenticity that that story was told with, the raw nature of how it was shot, and just the emotion and um, the way he dug deep to tell that story in a way that it had not been shown before, as a child, a teenager, and a grown man, struggling with identity issues and just trying to find his way. Because who isn't trying to find their way, right? It's a universal story told through a diverse lens. And just the remarkable factor was immediate. It took forever for us to get people to understand what was remarkable about this film because it was a small independent film. So trying to get writers and editors and people to give it a chance took a while. But once people actually tuned in and saw the remarkable factor about this film, it was a runaway train. And next thing you know, it's being invited into these big mainstream film viewing opportunities, and they win the Oscar 8 months, 9 months later. We started in June, they won the Oscar that February. And this is what can happen when you understand what's remarkable about your product, your service, how you touch people on another level, how you tell a universal story through a diverse lens, something that everyone can identify with, something that impacts lives, high impact and great resonance, and you tell it your way with your secret sauce, and you end up building up momentum, and momentum is what every entrepreneur dreams of. Moving on to the questions, what are the remarkable things about your business? Like, what if you extracted it and repeated it would create the momentum that you desire? How can you turn these into a compelling story? These remarkable factors. The next section 4, crafting a pitch that breaks through. All right, purpose is to craft a pitch that grabs attention and breaks through the clutter, being concise, compelling, and unforgettable in your pitch. All right, the hook. So, the hook is where you have a very small amount of time to spark interest in someone and make sure that they want to hang on for 2 more seconds to find out some information about this thing. Start strong with something eye catching, a headline or a lead. One of the hooks that I see is really resonating right now, and that doesn't mean that it will still be this way in 6 months from now or a year from now, is when people start with unpopular opinion. Makes people say, "Oh, unpopular opinion, let me tune in." You want to hook people with something that they haven't heard before, right? Like, what is the hook for your business? We are taking meatless food and making it taste like traditional soul food, gumbo, fried chicken, turkey wings, collard greens in this rock star vegan soul food restaurant in Jacksonville, Florida. That's what we do. You get a meat experience without meat. Like, that is a hook. Like, wait, what? How in the world are they doing that? That's the first thing that you think of when you think about things like the Impossible Burger or Slutty Vegan. She made vegan food dirty, right? The fussy hussy, and all of the sexual names of each of the dishes, the slutty nature of it, unheard of in the vegan world. Everything was nuts and berries and um chickpeas and all of that. And so that was a new take on something that was trending very big. And so once you craft your hook and you figure out how to grab attention, what do you do then? Now you've got your hook, subject line, whatever that first thing is that you're teasing out there. And then you go to your snackable content. Break your message into digestible bites and edit ruthlessly. So that means every single time you look at it, see if there's some other correction you can make. Never stop editing it, right? Because the world that we're in is changing rapidly. And you want to make sure that you're always open to new trends, new current events, new ways to say something, new ways to get the message across, new ways to present your remarkable factor. You have to edit ruthlessly and endlessly. You do not just craft the pitch and that's it and it's done. You may have to edit the pitch based on every single writer that you're reaching out to, if they're across different genres, if they're in different cities, if they have different interests. You always need to do that. Highlighting the remarkable. Make sure the most important information is front and center, right? And by the way, this is all of this part about crafting the pitch can work in a pitch for acquisition, can work in a pitch for partnership, can work in a pitch for a joint venture, can work for a pitch in getting your business, sold and acquired, mergers. These are exercises in positioning, not just earned media and PR, right? And so you want to make sure that the most important information is front and center. People need to know why you are undeniable, why you deserve this coverage. That's all the pitch is doing. The pitch is saying, here's why I deserve that 2 inch by 2 inch piece of coverage. Where most people get it wrong, especially people who do this every day, is they get into a practice, and I've hired more publicists than I can count. They get into a practice of doing it so frequently that they start to get rote with it, right? And they're just crafting the pitch and sending it on. Because at a certain point, when you develop a relationship with a media person, you no longer are pitching just based off of what's on in the email. It's based on your relationship, so it's a lot easier to get. But you must always remember that what you're asking them for must align with what is a priority to them. Okay, always. Pitch should never be longer than 3 sentences. And I didn't used to say that in these master classes, but I'm saying that now because that's where we're at. In this world that we're in today, you have 3 sentences to make your case. If it goes to 4, they're probably going to close the email. 3 sentences, make sure it's in list format because that's how people read now. And you get in and get out of there and give the details. And then when they reply with a question, that's when you give the detail. First, hook, most important, value. What value are you bringing to them? How are you going to make them look like a rock star for covering you? Pro tip, think of your pitch like a movie trailer, short, punchy, and leaving them wanting more. Regina King's pitch for One Night in Miami was concise but powerful, focusing on the cultural significance of the film. So Regina King, who we all know and love as Brenda, her trajectory as a filmmaker has been glorious. And she says publicly, just making sure that in her, kind of debut film release, that they had not a lot of time to make a short impact and a short punchy impact and make something memorable and powerful so that you could not forget it. And those are wise words. Shonda Rhimes broke through with her pitch for Scandal by highlighting the remarkable. What was remarkable about Scandal? Prior to 2012, when Scandal came out, when was the last time that we saw an African American woman operating at the highest levels of government who is walking into the Oval Office with the president madly in love with her, with a team of assassins who were willing to do anything for her, clean up bodies, go and sabotage folks, go and make sure that they scaled the building to do whatever she needed done? When was the last time we saw that? Everything about that pitch was remarkable. Everything about that show, it's the characters, the storylines was remarkable. Remarkable because we had not seen anything like it. Remarkable, innovative, high impact. They're on the cover of every magazine because when was the last time we saw chemistry like that between a white and black lead on camera, and one is the president? Like, just had not seen it. So you just want to make sure that you're presenting something that this media person has not seen. Case study, Google. Google and YouTube's visibility and diversity among African American media was our high priority for the 7 years that we represented Google. And the reason why I put them in this particular section is because we're talking about the art of the pitch, right? And most people would think, what does Google have to pitch to African American media? And the truth is that in addition to being a search based business, Google had a lot of content that they also wanted to make sure content, services, tools that they wanted to make sure an African American audience knew they wanted to roll out with sensitivity to the audience, that they wanted to make sure that we knew they wanted to highlight soulful restaurants in our neighborhoods for Black History Month on Google Maps, to make sure that they did partnerships with YouTube original programming, with African American filmmakers, with art installations from Nas and Yara Shahidi. They had a lot of programming to show the African American audience that they were invested, but people had to find out about it. And that is why our relationship with them was so high impact and fruitful, was because making sure to break through with a pitch that the media knew what was happening with these services that could make entrepreneurs' lives easier, tools that could increase and enhance your entrepreneurial experience. All of those were things that were put in pitches to the media, and why we actually thrived with them as a client and kept them for so long. Questions. What's the hook in your pitch? Just rehearse a few. You can drop some in the chat if you'd like to. I definitely want to hear them all for sure. How can you make your message more snackable? Little bites, a two sentence text message, a 3 sentence email, a 1 sentence DM in Instagram. How can you do that? Just practice that as a skill. It will make the pitch better and better. And finally, mastering follow up. All right, so mastering follow up. The purpose of mastering the art of follow up is because you do not want to cross that razor thin line between persistence and nuisance. You don't want to cross the line from being persistent and driven to being a nuisance and annoying. Because what could easily happen, and a lot of people cross this barrier, is that as soon as your name pops up in somebody's inbox, they're rolling their eyes. Don't want that. As soon as they see you, they're running. When they see the text, they're deleting it. That means you have crossed the line, and now they have an immediate negative opinion of you, when you really want them to, at least if it's not going to be positive, it should be neutral, right? I'm okay with a person having a neutral perspective about me, because I would rather start from zero than start from a negative. And also, you cannot make a person have a positive experience, positive thought about you if they really don't know you, right? All they should know is that your pitch is going to make their lives easier. So how do we do polite persistence, right? Following up with purpose and not pestering. And what does that mean? Following up with purpose means every single time you follow up, you add a new snackable piece of value. You don't ever follow up with the same exact message. If all you have is the same thing to say, don't say it. Just wait. You want to follow up and say, hey, did you know this? And also, as a result of this, this is coming out, or we're doing this right here. We're launching this thing that's going to make entrepreneurs' lives easier. We have this new addition to the menu, which vegans all over the world have been looking for, which is like a coconut cream pie with no eggs, whatever, right? You want to keep following up with a new piece of information, not the same old pieces of information, because that lets them, it trains the person opening it to know that every time they open up your email, they're going to find out something new that they didn't know before. And if you're lucky, they will repeat the new things that they learn to the people in their world, because everybody wants to teach the people around them. They want to show that they know new things. Timing matters, right? Knowing when to follow up and when to give space. When to follow up I always say set your calendar, set little follow up reminders, and color code it based on the media outlet so that you don't mix it up and you're following up with the wrong person too soon, right? Have one person have the color pink in your Google Calendar, one person have the color red, gold, orange, blue, and set the dots and give a good amount of time, 2 weeks, maybe three, before you follow up again. Because when you reach out with urgency, like as if you're under the gun, that person automatically reads it as this person waited till the last minute and now they're trying to make their emergency my emergency. Now I have a negative opinion of them. Delete. Don't want that. You want them to always open up your email and be like, oh, I meant to get back to her. I'm going to do it, but I just can't do it right this second. That's what you want them to say. They should always be thinking, oh, I need to get back to her, but I can't do it right now, but I'm going to do it. Because eventually they will. And when they see you or meet you, they'll be like, oh, I've been meaning to reach out to you. That's what you want from your especially your local media outlets who are tasked with unearthing and finding and discovering new communities, new experiences, new impacts, new entrepreneurs in their own community, in their own local market. And sealing the deal. If you have the luck and the opportunity to start a conversation with a media person, if you DM them and they responded, you emailed and they responded, you text them and they responded, what you definitely want to do is make sure that from that moment forward, you are following up in enough time to keep the conversation going. So it might be once a month, it might be every time you see something that they would find interesting, you link it and say, hey, I know new bars are your beat. Did you see this new vegan soul food restaurant with vegan drinks or with, non sugar free alcoholic drinks or a sugar free martini menu? Whatever it is, you're hipping them to something they did not know. Or if they did know, you didn't know they knew. You just wanted to make sure that you showed them something new. So that's how you keep the conversation going. Don't let that conversation go cold. Nurture that relationship so that eventually you will have the grand opportunity of referring to that media person as a friend. Not everybody you talk to is your friend, and that's okay. But if you nurture media relationships over time and you become invested in what's important to them, they will eventually become invested in what's important to you, and you can foster friendships and relationships. So just keep that going. Okay. Pro tip, always add value in your follow ups, whether it's new information, an additional angle, or simply showing enthusiasm. Make sure you always add new value. Oprah landed her legendary interview with Meghan Markle by persistent yet respectful follow ups. So, the reason why I thought this was so amazing and was good to include is because I never think of Oprah as a person who needs to follow up with anybody. But she thought that interview was that valuable to her that she did quiet, slow, persistent follow ups until she landed the interview. And that was important to her. And that is exactly the way you should think about your pitches about your business. It's that important to you to develop a relationship with the media. So you're going to take your time and you're going to build the right relationships. Real life example, Spike Lee secured funding for Malcolm X through persistent follow ups with influential figures. And this was at a time when there were hardly any Black filmmakers making films about Black icons, controversial Black icons. So imagine the funding efforts and the journey to get from zero to what you need to do that film. Definitely an effort in persistence, in showing value, in constantly showing up and showing that you're committed to this, a true commitment to the follow-up. So that's one example. And finally, National Geographic is my last example I'm going to show to you guys. And this one is about the follow-up. So National Geographic, we all know when we think of them, most people think of the animal kingdom. They think of space. They think of um, nature and science, because we were all kids and had the National Geographic books in our classrooms, right? Now there's a whole network with a ton of programming and a specifically programming that speaks to African American audiences. But how do you make sure they know about it? One of the most impactful pieces of content that they had that targeted African Americans was LA 92, which was about the riots in LA, and it was had no celebrities in it. It was a movie 100% created with outtakes of police footage from that time. So every single thing that you saw was news footage, police footage from that time. It was no actors featured. It was no commentary like panels and interstitials where somebody's speaking and then they cut them in. Everything was from that time. And once we saw this and we believed in it wholeheartedly, the goal was to create a remarkable pitch and follow up until people gave it a chance. And that's exactly what happened. It performed so well that National Geographic was able to greenlight a ton of other African American content, including um, the Aretha Franklin story that was played by Cynthia Erivo. And so many other things, things about the Middle Passage, with an African American scuba diver, just a ton of stuff that we were very proud to be a part of. And just to show you that, how often you follow up is definitely going to be key. You must be strategic with it. And just let me know, how often should you be following up without being annoying, right? Because sometimes follow up takes months, years. And when you finally get that person's attention and they give you a few seconds, what you do with those few seconds is key. You're presenting value over and over and over again. Why? These days, that's what it takes to keep a person on the phone. Why should they hang in there one more minute? What value am I getting? What additional value can you always offer in your follow-ups? So I want everyone to ask themselves. We just went through the 5 core principles. And of course, like, I have courses where we dig a little deeper into each one, and we have exercises that teach you how to take action on all of the things that we discussed. And that the course where we take action on these 5 principles is called the Green Room course. But let's just together say, what is the single biggest challenge you are having in acquiring customers, right? Like, in your line of business, what is it? What is the single biggest source of your pain? If you feel like your business is technically positioned for pain right now, the way that, speaking to all the things that I talked about, how can we make the shift? What are the 5 things we can do to position you for profit? What is your action plan for the next 30 days to launch your PR campaign? How are we going to make sure that your secret sauce speaks louder and is more, it takes more action than your best kept secret status? Because letting your secret sauce out is way better than remaining a best kept secret. And in the end, how you feel about your business, if you are in pain, if you feel like you're in pain, if you're positioned for pain, it is going to 100% affect your ability to secure press on your business, because you will give a lot of unintentional cues and language that lets people know that you're not exactly excited about this business, and it could be some things that need repair, that there could be some painful issues going on inside your business. You almost always give it away, because entrepreneurs wear their heart on their sleeve. They speak with raw honesty, and you definitely will let those kinds of things out. You have to love your business in order to fully position yourself for profit. So, a couple of tools that I've created for the community, that you may or may not know about, but the PR playbook for remarkable entrepreneurs only. Like I said, if you can't answer the question about if your business is remarkable, this book is not quite for you yet. So the PR playbook is not a course, it's a command center, right? It is a 32-page guide to take you through everything that I just discussed. And it's interactive. So you put in your own information. And you can always pair it with a one-on-one session with me to help you to go through it, specifically filling in the blanks about your business and what your best opportunity is to secure visibility. The reason why you need the playbook is because trying to position yourself better without a plan, without a game plan, and without tools is an exercise in futility. So you just want to make sure that you have all the tools in your arsenal, that you are prepared and ready to prepare yourself to go position your business for profit, to go out there and secure the visibility you deserve, to stop paying that invisibility tax. And so you can find it at the link here. Hold on, I'm going to take you through it. Before I get to the link, the playbook will help you shift from being best kept secret to being unstoppable in terms of visibility and taking each piece of coverage and going to get the next piece. Crafting pitches that sound like a leader, not like a person who's desperate to get coverage because they need more clients. Making sure that you have your target list of the media outlets that you need to speak to find your people and make sure that they can find you. To make sure that you acknowledge the mistakes that you made, but also that you have not let them get in your way. To be radically forgiving. There's a whole section about being radically forgiving. And the playbook, what will it set you back? $28.88. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? For the cost of 4 cups of Starbucks, you actually get the PR playbook all to yourself, your own personal copy, and you can edit down and read it and do different iterations for as long as you live. So how do you get your copy? You can get your copy here at this link. We're dropping the link in the chat so that you guys can click the link and you can um, secure your own copy. Another tool that I have for the family is this, the Headline Heroes Alliance. So it's very important to me that we build a community, because one thing I feel like entrepreneurs lack is community, right? The entrepreneurial journey can be very lonely, very lonely. And you can talk to entrepreneurs all over the globe and hear about how it feels like a very lonely experience, because you tend to be surrounded by the people that you are working with or that are working for you. And so you're the leader. So they're looking to you to have all the answers. Decision fatigue is wearing you out. Every move you make affects other people's lives. You're constantly the chief growth officer, because no matter how many people you pay, no one's invested in the growth of your business like you are. You are constantly on a mission, a solo mission, with a bunch of people who are there to support you, right? Or a few people who are there to support you. And you never have the opportunity to be in a community of like-minded entrepreneurs that also are on the same mission, that are also leaders in their category, that are also creating high impact in their communities for their customers, who are also job creators and have a team of people to manage, and who are also always navigating this market where the change is so rapid and you have a couple of days to get up on the new innovation before it becomes next year's, late, old, outdated, antiquated innovation. So I created the Headline Heroes Alliance because it is not just a group, it's more like a visibility operating system where entrepreneurs who want to leave the invisibility tax behind and all the expensive costs of being invisible, the cost of not being visible to your ideal hires, the cost of not scaling your business because your customers don't know about you. When you're ready to leave that behind, this is a private, high trust community of entrepreneurs with the same mission, who can sharpen each other, who can give feedback to each other, who can solve problems together and give real time feedback. And we do fun stuff like monthly pitch and sips, hot seat coaching, and ask a coach. Also, just dropping resources in the group. The reason why any entrepreneur needs the Headline Heroes Alliance is because isolation is expensive, and it's just that simple. Trying to build a business and solve all the problems on your own is not only exhausting, and soul breaking, but it also is unnecessary because there are communities that are here to support you. You do not need to build in a vacuum. The alliance keeps you plugged into what's happening now and how you respond. Um, how will the headline here? What will it help me do? It'll help you to stop reacting and start leading conversations in your industry. It will help you to step into your authority like you own it because you do, because you earned it. And the result is authority that compounds and credibility that sticks. And that is why we do what we do every day. So thank you for taking this journey with me. I really appreciate you. How much will it cost to be a part of Headline Heroes? For right now only, the month of January, since it's a month all about resetting and restarting and replenishment. We are making the Headline Heroes available for 50% off for anyone who wants to join in the month of January. So that is 50% off the 48.88. So it is 24.44 in celebration of the new year. Again, 4 cups of Starbucks coffee, and you have a membership with a community that is only interested in you thriving. How do I join? You can go to this link here. We will drop the link in the chat, and we will see you on Instagram, on YouTube, or wherever else you find us. We're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram. You can go to shantebacon.com to read more about the Green Room course if that's something that you're interested in, and to get more details on the playbook and the Headline Heroes. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. We went over a little bit, but I appreciate your time. Talk to you soon.